Okay, so what if I told you the secret to making plant-based food not just safer, but way tastier has been hiding in plain sight for centuries? Well, today we're diving deep into a microscopic world that's about to completely change how you think about your favorite veggie burger.
Bacteria in your food. Yeah, I know. It sounds a little scary, right? But just hold on, because we are not talking about the villains of the microscopic world here. Nope. We're talking about the unsung heroes, the good guys, who are literally revolutionizing our food from the inside out.
All right, let's set the stage. Plant-based proteins are everywhere. They're taking over our grocery stores. You've got pea, soy, hemp, even hazelnut. The options seem totally endless. But this whole plant-powered revolution has created a massive headache for food scientists, a puzzle they've been trying to solve for years.
See, the puzzle has two really big pieces. On one side, you've got a safety problem. When you add water to these protein powders, some pretty nasty, dormant bacteria can kind of spring back to life. And on the other side, well, it's the taste. Come on, let's be real. That beany or grassy flavor isn't exactly what you're hoping for in a smoothie. So the big question is, how do you solve both problems at once?
Well, the solution, it turns out, isn't some brand new high-tech invention. It's actually an ancient one, and it's powered by some of the smallest, mightiest little organisms on the entire planet. So let's meet the microscopic champions of our story. Say hello to lactic acid bacteria, or LAB for short. Now, these aren't just any old microorganisms. They are tiny culinary masters that we've been working with for literally centuries. And their secret weapon? It's fermentation. It's this amazing natural process that not only keeps our food fresh, but also wages war on all those harmful microbes. You know, if you've ever had a really creamy yogurt or a tangy piece of sourdough bread, you've already tasted what they can do. They're basically nature's original food artisans, a team of tiny chefs and tiny bodyguards all rolled into one.
And this is where it gets really cool, this dual personality they have. So as these microscopic bodyguards, they create this really hostile environment for the bad guys, you know, those dangerous spore formers we were just talking about. And then, as tiny chefs, they get to work on the flavor, transforming something bland into something brilliant.
So, with all this incredible potential, scientists at the University of Parma knew what they had to do. They decided to put these tiny champions to the ultimate test. They basically set up an epic, microscopic showdown to see what these bacteria were really made of.
So, how'd they do it? Let's break it down. First, they picked out 8 different plant proteins. Think of these as the arenas for the big fight. Then, they brought in the champions, 12 unique strains of lactic acid bacteria. They gave them some time to let that fermentation magic happen, and then came the crucial final step, analyzing everything to see who won the battle for safety and for flavor.
And listen, this was not some small-scale test. Just look at the sheer number of combinations they tried here. Every single one of those check marks, that represents a unique experiment, a face-off between one type of bacteria and one type of protein. We're talking about a massive, comprehensive search to find the perfect pairings. They were leaving no stone unturned.
All right, so after all that testing, what did they actually find? Well, the results were, in a word, extraordinary. They got these huge wins on both the safety front and the flavor front.
First up, safety. And this was a huge success. The microscopic bodyguards were an absolute triumph. In the samples that were fermented with the right LAB strains, the growth of those nasty spore-forming bacteria was completely shut down. I mean, this is a total game changer for making plant-based foods that are naturally safe without needing a bunch of heat treatments or chemical preservatives.
And now for the taste. Wow, this chart, it tells such an incredible story. It shows what happened to a compound called hexanol. Just look at that drop. Before fermentation, the levels are through the roof. But after our little LAB champions get to work, they just plummet. We're talking about a reduction of over 90% in some cases. It's amazing.
So, why should you care about this hexanol stuff? Well, because it's public enemy number 1. It's the main culprit behind that grassy, beany taste that can make some plant-based foods a little, well, unpleasant. By basically wiping it out, these bacteria are giving the proteins a deep clean, scorbing away all their worst flavors. But they didn't just get rid of the bad stuff. Oh no. This is where the real magic happens. The bacteria actually started creating brand new, delicious flavors. They produced compounds that give off these buttery and creamy notes, the exact same molecules you find in butter, and even some that have a cheesy aroma.
So they didn't just fix the flavor, they completely transformed it from something you just tolerate into something you actually crave.
So look, this is so much more than just a cool science experiment. This research is really a sneak peek into the future of the food that's going to be on your plate, and honestly, it's coming sooner than you think.
Even the researchers themselves were blown away. They concluded that the fermentation led to a substantial transformation. And that fancy term, organoleptic properties, that's just a scientific way of saying the entire experience, the taste, the smell, the texture, was massively improved.
So what does all this mean for you and me? Well, get ready for a whole new world of plant-based food. Just imagine yogurts that are unbelievably creamy, cheeses with these rich, complex flavors that can actually compete with the real thing, and protein shakes that are so smooth and delicious, you'll forget they're good for you.
And you know, maybe the most powerful part of this whole story is that it's a completely natural solution. We're not talking about adding a ton of chemicals or weird artificial flavorings. We're using a timeless, natural process to make our food safer and to make it taste incredible. It's just science and nature working together in perfect harmony.
So, the next time you're enjoying a really delicious plant-based meal, maybe take a second to think about the invisible army of tiny champions that made it all possible. The future of food is here, and it's powered by bacteria. Makes you wonder, what other ancient secrets are just waiting to be rediscovered in our food?